Hi, my name is Luke from Yoda1, and I recently sat down with Mads and Oliver from SimpleBit Studios. If you don't know their game, it's a very cool game called Trench Warfare 1917. If you haven't already checked it out, make sure you do that. We talked about a lot of interesting things, and they shared many insights around monetization, turning your game from a hobby in your free time to a real business. We talked about the creative vision and when to make compromises between the creative vision and the needs of the players or the experience of the players or actually getting a game out there. We talked about their plans for the future and a bunch of other really interesting stuff. So I hope you enjoy the conversation. Before we jump into it though, make sure if you're thinking about how to monetize your own game or you want to learn more about monetization, make sure you check us out in the link in the description. Also, I would appreciate it if you could like and subscribe if you find this video useful and interesting. Okay, without further delay, let's get into the discussion with Mads and Oliver from SimpleBit.
My name is Matt. I'm 22 years old, and I go to university and I study information technology here in Denmark. And yeah, I like to work out and make games, of course, in my free time, and just overall have fun. But right now it's pretty boring due to coronavirus. So just work all day. That's how it is right now.
You mean it's boring making games all day is boring?
No. It's
Oh,
boring
I
like
mean, life is
all
boring.
yeah, more or less. Like all my friends we used to do all these things together. Right now it isn't really possible due to the second lockdown. So it's just you can only work and you can like go to uni classes. That's how it is right now.
Okay, all right. Oliver?
yeah. Well, my name is Oliver, and I'm 22 years old, and I live in Denmark, and I study interactive design. Second semester. Um, and then I make games in my spare time with Mads at SimpleBit Studios.
Just as a follow-up question to that, I'm curious, is there any, because you guys are both in university, how much interaction is there between what you're learning academically and what you're doing with games, or are they absolutely separate? Are they completely separate?
Well,
I would
for
say,
my I've been to uni for 2 years, 1.5 year, and Oliver's only been for half year. But regarding my education, I think um, this last semester we learned C Sharp, which is an object-oriented programming language, and that was pretty closely related to Unity. But the difference is really that the way you code like applications for Windows and like websites and stuff like that is really different from the way you organize things in games. Also the theory. So like the basic stuff, like if you the syntax of the program, which is like basic grammar of the program is the same, but the way you like actually code the things are pretty different.
Right.
So overall, I think it helps me in some ways because I learn like new concepts, and I can like spare with my friends who also study. But I think this whole thing is more like a self-teaching thing where you have to Google a lot and you watch YouTube videos, more or less more than I learned from uni, because sometimes it's like really abstract, and it's more like academia than real life almost.
You're making a good case for YouTube and Google. I mean,
Yeah, a lot. Yeah.
I would actually it's more effective in some ways because you only learn what you have to. You learn a lot of stuff that you don't need for game because it's very well general education we're taking, right? So
Yeah,
maybe we can use
exactly. Yeah.
about 10 or 20% or something. The rest is just hard work and watching YouTube videos and stuff like that.
but
Yeah, I
that's
think most regarding
yeah.
uni is just like a lot of theory. Like you just read books about stuff that was written 20 years ago sometimes. So it doesn't feel so relevant all the time when you study like design patterns from 20 years ago that you don't use anymore because they're obsolete. But yeah, I'm making the case for Google and YouTube, of course, 100%.
Yes.
Well,
But
yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me as well. I mean, those textbooks, that's the problem. Being in print, they're physical objects, and as soon as they're made, they're basically behind, right?
Yeah, especially in tech, yeah, because everything moves so fast.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I would especially say if you want to do something like we have done university. I mean, it's nice, but you definitely don't need it. But I would say in defense of well, our university at least, they have been pretty supportive of being able to start a small company on the side and do help in various ways. So that's nice.
Yeah, they have something called the AAU startup, which is like just our like university startup program where they lend us free rooms so we could work all summer in like a real office.
That's
You know,
cool.
just like a building. That was really nice.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, you said in defense of, that makes it sound like somebody's being accused of something, but
Yeah, true.
they were about to kick you out, and then they heard that, and then now they're not going to anymore. Well, maybe we can get into a little bit about your backstory, especially in regards to SimpleBit. So, do you think you guys could sort of talk through how you formed it, and then we can get into the game stuff. But I want to know a little bit more about how you guys came together and how you started the studio.
Of course, yeah. So from the beginning, when I went in eighth grade, when I was 12 years old, I started making some small games with one of my friends in like middle school, and then I went to something called efterskole, which is a really Danish thing. It's more like a boarding school, but it isn't really a boarding school because you don't go there for like your whole school, like 9 years. It's more like like kind of a gap year, but you still go to school, so you still get your education. But it's really focused around like socializing and having fun, and like exploring different hobbies and stuff like that. So I knew Oliver. He liked to draw a lot, so I asked him if he wanted to make a game with me. So that's how it all started. Then you can continue the story, I think, Oliver.
Yes. So this happened. Well, that was in 2014, 2015. We went to school together, and we lived. We were roommates. So that was how it started. I think we wanted to make some kind of a 3D game back then with tanks.
Yeah,
And
that's true. Yeah,
well, we couldn't do that back then because we really didn't know much about anything. But it was a whole process. So, but we only went for the school for like a year or something, or a year, and then we lived like 2 hours away from each other, so we would visit each other's on the weekend while we were at high school. And
exactly.
so at the first year of high school, we finished our first game ish in a weekend, and it was like a
Game-ish. I'm not sure what that is.
game ish, like so so it
Really
was
bad.
playable, but it wasn't really a game because
No.
we couldn't figure out how to do a real high score, and so that didn't work. And animation, we had no animations because we couldn't figure out how that worked.
For a game, that's a problem.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so it was a game with like a box going around the forest, and well, it was not
Yeah.
much gameplay actually.
It had like Oliver made like some basic. It actually looked really cool. He made some mushrooms and some stones and some trees in low poly, and that looked pretty great. And then I made like this cube thing, just like a cube, nothing more than just a cube that you can make in Unity when you start a new project. And I just made it move around, and then you had like this flare, so you had light around you, and then after 30 seconds it would like disappear, so you had to collect new flares in the forest before they went out. And then if you could survive for how long, that was like the whole idea. How long can you survive? But it was a pretty bad game because like there was no point in surviving. It was just like, yeah, I don't know.
You don't know
just
why
had
you
to try
have to
something out.
survive. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it was meant to be scary, but it really wasn't.
No, not at all.
Not at all. Well, we thought to ourselves, why are there no real good like top view horror games? And we found out it's because it's not really scary when you can see everything. So
Right.
Yeah.
Everything has to be hidden and shrouded in darkness.
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
tanks, it seems like there's a bit of a military theme going on. So maybe we
Yeah.
can talk about a trench warfare 1917. I've always wondered why there are so few World War One movies compared to World War Two movies. I'm curious, why World War One, and how did you? I mean, the military interest as well. I'm curious about where you guys are coming from. So maybe you could talk about, number one, your approach to a game now, and also what interested you about this idea, or perhaps future ideas along the same lines.
Mm. Well, first of all, the reason for World War One was that we looked at the App Store and the Play Store, and we noticed there were a lot of these, like 3D shooters containing World War Two games, and also with PlayStation and computer games. Just overall, there were really a lot of like World War Two movies and a lot of World War Two games, but almost no World War One games. And then Battlefield One came out in 2016, I think 2016, and I really liked it because I was really into history, and I have always been into history. So since I was a kid, so I really thought World War One was an interesting war, since it has not been depicted so much in movies, because World War Two came only 20 years after, so it was kind of like overshadowed by it.
It gets no love at all.
Yeah, exactly. So we just thought it would be like, we saw that Battlefield was a really cool game, and that was a World War One game, and it was still fun to play. So we just looked into Play Store and App Store and saw that, like, this kind of game. I found it on the Play Store, but it was like a not such a good version. So we just like tried to look up and see how many games were there of this, like, kind of in this genre. One game was like Age of War, which me and Oliver played in middle school when we were like 8 years old, and we really liked that game, and that game was on Play Store. So we just thought, what if we could like make some of these, like, if you could take like these different Flash games from 2008 and 2007, and like combine them into a game that would like be about World War One. And then we found this game called Warfare 1917, which is a really old Flash game, and it wasn't on the App Store, but there were a lot of copies of them on App Store. And we thought we could do better than that. Or we had like this idea that I really like this genre, and I would like to make a game about World War One rather just like a World War Two game or a modern military game and stuff like that. So that's like how it all
very
started,
interesting. Does that strategy actually meet your expectations? I mean, did you find that because you're serving more of a niche game category in focusing on World War II, that actually helped downloads, and would you do that sort of thing again?
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
definitely.
Yeah.
First of all, yeah.
Go ahead, Oliver.
Yeah, thanks. Well, yeah, definitely. I think because we found something that was niche. I think the important thing was we found something where we looked at the market and thought we could do something that was at least as good as the best of the games in the in this category. And I think that was an important thing, because if you just do a game and there are 10 or 100 games that are as good as yours, I mean, you're not really gonna stand out. And that was really important for us. But also we thought it was really fun, the genre in general. So we had a love for it. So it's not just that it was niche.
Like that was an extra thing with the thing that's a niche market, because like I played another game like this one in high school, and I just thought like this game is actually pretty bad, and I think me and Olvi could actually make a better version of this game, even though our current game, it's okay, but like we're working on a new game that's gonna be a lot better than this one. But still, we just thought like we could do better than that. And also, of course, it was World War One, so it was an overlooked genre. So instead of just like aiming some people, they just look, if you make like a Temple Run kind of game, and there are like, you know, tens of thousands of Temple Run kind of games.
Yes,
It's
a
pretty
million
hard
temple
to,
runs.
yeah, exactly. It's pretty hard to stand out because, you know, like all these different cartoon characters all now have their own Temple Run game.
Trench
So
runner. How about that?
yeah, exactly. You know, like it's such a big like it's so saturated, oversaturated that it's like
Yeah.
impossible if you don't want to spend like $1 million on ads. It's going to be pretty hard to actually get an audience, I think.
Your game is the 8-bit aesthetic, and I really like that. I play a lot of 8-bit games. I like that feel. Was it more of a nostalgia based decision? Was it from necessity? Or are you guys more just into that aesthetic? What's the thinking behind that?
Skal du sige, Oliver? Skal jeg sige?
Yeah, I can say. Well, I would say it's a bit of both, right? So it's both because it was easy for us, but we have tried out like other kind of 2D games, but the good thing about the pixel art aesthetic 8-bit aesthetic is that Mass was also able to do some of the work with it. So it was not just me. So it was kind of a compromise because
Lowest common denominator?
Yeah, a lot. So Oliver
And,
was
well-
out traveling at the time, actually. In Indonesia.
Interesting.
Where were you at, Oliver?
Yeah, I was in Indonesia.
With his girlfriend, yeah. And
Ah.
while Oliver was out traveling, we had like this 3-month break because I went to uni a year before him. And we had like this 3-month break, and I was bored because, you know, like I was always used to like do something with my free time, but we had partied a lot at the start of uni, and it was getting kind of repetitive. So I just started making this prototype, and I'm colorblind and I'm really bad at art. So I just thought, okay, I'll try to make like this really basic 2D character. And then I made this like really basic prototype in like 10 or 14 days. And I sent it to Oliver and asked, do you think this game could actually have potential, or do you think it's complete like shit? And yeah, what was your response, Oliver? That's like
Yeah, so at this point I was in some hotel in Indonesia or something, and Matt sent me this. And well, I thought it was a great idea. Just from the start, we have talked about doing a game like this before, and not it wasn't really working. And Matt made something, and it was really great. So the first thing I did when I got home was start working on the game as well.
More the visual side of it. So taking the idea and polishing it and making it look better.
Exactly, because when Mass makes something like the color of like a white guy's skin, right? Well, Mass for some reason can't see that on a screen, so he will make it like Turkish or turquoise or like bluish color.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, exactly, turquoise. Yeah. So there's a lot of things there, and just refining the animation and so on. So that's really the story of the why we switched to them. More simple aesthetic.
Yeah, because when you're only a 2-man team, it's pretty hard because like it really depends on what kind of game you make. Sometimes the game will be really code heavy, and then Oliver will like be finished a lot quicker than I would be finished, and then he just like waits around or starts on another game, and it's kind of hard to start on another game if you don't really have like the focus on it. So we just thought it's better that we can develop something where we can like assist each other. So if I make a game and it's not so code heavy and it's more art based, then I could help Oliver with the art and so on. You just make everything like more fluent.
I mean, that's a feature of the nature of a partnership, especially for a smaller studio, of knowing exactly who's able to do what. So that sort of ties into a question I have about where it goes from here. Do you guys see yourself building something? What's the vision for the future? Are we going to see a SimpleBit, a 9,000 person company in 5 years? What is the vision that you have, or future games you're working on, and what things would need to happen to get to whatever vision that is?
Then start earlier.
Okay, so well, first things first. our vision for the future, we do want to, of course, work full time with this, and that's hopefully in the near future because it's going very well for us right now. But we don't have any plans of being a real big studio, because I don't know. There's just something about just being like 2, 3, maybe 5 people. Right now we are, well, actually three people. Someone comes and help us, but I don't know. There's just something nice about just being us, and we're friends and having fun with it. So it's, I mean, it's serious, but it's still like doing a hobby, even though we make money from it now. Yes, so that, yeah.
Very cool.
But hopefully we will do pretty soon go full time, at least after our first part of the university is finished, I would guess.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Also, I think that it's pretty, like, the thing about being a big studio. First of all, it's pretty hard to become a big studio since there are so many like big studios right now that compete for the same audience, right?
Right.
And on top of that, there's a lot of bigger risk. So if we, like, let's say that we made some new games in the future and that did well too, and we recruited like 30, 40, 50 people, right? Now we have just say 30 people under our wings, and we have to make sure that we can't really fail, because if one game fails, we can risk like going bankrupt, right? So I think it's easier just to be 1, 2, 3 guys than being like 100, because there's the same risk. It's easier to say, okay, we can go the next 1 year and only get, like $800 a month in salary or something like that, because we can survive that, right? But it's really hard to talk to an employee and say, hey, can you just like get $800 the next year as a salary, right? So like, it's you have to always meet expectations, and you have to always succeed. And I think that's pretty difficult, especially in mobile games, because it's harder to get a loyal fan base. Like video games, it goes so far back, and it's more like you play a game that's 20 hours long or 30 hours long, where mobile games is more like you switch on the go, you switch so much around all the time, and there are so many releases all the time. So I think it's a lot harder to become a really big studio. Of course, there are some big studios with mobile games, but I think there are more like small studios rather than these really big studios.
Yeah, I think people outside of the industry don't really see the vast difference in the nature of a traditional gaming studio and a studio making mobile games. It's such a different frame of reference, and the audience is so different. But people conflate them out. I mean, people talk about them as the same exact thing because that's just video games, right?
Yeah.
I want to know from you guys. Well, I wanted to ask what things you have cooking in terms of ideas, other games coming out, and also I wanted to ask what sort of challenges you've gone past that you would share with people who are where you were, I don't know, a couple years ago. In the past, what things did you learn the hard way that someone listening to this or watching this will say, wow, thank God I know that. I'm going to avoid that landmine.
Okay, first of all, I think the thing that almost every game developer says is that start small, and with small, really small, like make a really, really, really simple game, like a cube that can move around, and then maybe like pick a coin up and the coin goes up, because our problem has been that we have made so many different 3D models and many lines of code for like games that never went anywhere, because we kept adding more things to the scope of the project, so it kept getting bigger, or like we just started out with features. We had like too many features from the get-go, or we added too many features as we went along. So like the game that we envisioned was on the same quality as like a big studio game, and that's of course like impossible. But when you start out as a hobbyist, you think that you can like make the new GTA or the new Battlefield, even though it's of course impossible, because like these games take 5 years to make, and there are like 200, 300, 500 people sitting and making on them full time.
I think I could make Cyberpunk. It would be just as
Easy.
Yeah,
broken.
with the current state, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So I guess the takeaway there would be then make a minimum viable product rather than make sure you know when the features are creeping and avoid feature creep so
Yeah.
that you can get something out the door and get feedback on it, something like
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly, because it's so important to understand, like, you can easily end up making a game that you would like yourself, but you aren't making games for like, other people. You're only making them for yourself. And if you want to, like, if you envision yourself in the future as a full-time game developer, you have to, of course, you always have to make a game that you like yourself. That's like the whole starting point of making something.
Right.
But if you like only make it and all your friends are like, I think this is pretty weird, or I think this feature you have implemented is pretty weird, and you're like, no, it's really cool. I like it a lot. I'm just going to keep it. So it's better to make something really simple, or just like a simple demo, and then ask people, do you think this could be cool, or what do you think could also be in this game, and make it even better than this right now.
Oliver, would you add anything to that in terms of painful lessons learned from past experience?
well, on the I can also talk about something on the like all the visual side, because I do all the visuals for our games, and I think, I don't know if it's for all, but for us at least, it has been mostly me who are behind, right? Because it's so easy to look at all these cool things and think, oh well, I can do that, and you can do that for in the start, but then you forget that, well, the game is actually big and you have to scale this up, and so
Right.
you think, well, I can make a in the game we do now, well, I can make 20 different animation for this one, and then I can also do this for the next one, but it's just gonna
Yeah.
it's just gonna take way too long. So it's about finding joy in completing something, but maybe not doing the game 100% as you really envisioned it, but finding somewhere like taking 20% off and be happy about it still, because a lot of people, I think, are like perfectionist, or like, just, it needs to be perfect, but it really doesn't necessarily have to be perfect. Just need to be, well,
Yeah,
you just need to be
exactly.
happy
Yeah.
with it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think most of the time, like, you end up, you are like really like a perfectionist, because when you write all the code and you make all the art, you notice every little thing that you think is wrong with the game. And like most people who play the game would never notice these things, like, at all. So sometimes you just end up using a lot of time on, like, kind of waste your time on things that doesn't really matter in the end, because people are not less pleased by the game because of it, or they're not like, I don't want to play the game because of this. So it's just like finding a balance between being a perfectionist and also actually getting some work done.
Isn't that the line between running a business and just being an artist with precious little things that you make? There's
Exactly. Yeah.
this business side of it
I think so.
is people will use this, and if I obsess over everything, then it's gonna take more time, and I may never actually get it done. I think Da Vinci suffered from that quite a bit. A bunch of stuff he didn't finish. So,
Yeah.
well, then could we talk about the business side of it? How do you go from a hobbyist who enjoys the art to actually a business that makes money? And then how do you balance being an artist, say, or being a creator, or being creative, and the business side of it without sacrificing the creativity? Or do you have to completely sell your soul and there's just no hope?
Yeah, we've sold our souls a long time ago.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. I mean, now once you've done that, then it's smooth sailing from here on out.
Yeah, now it's easy. No, well, I think, well, first of all, yeah, we went from the game Trench Warfare that we have success with now. It was never meant to make. We never meant to make any money on it. We just made it for, well, making something in our spare time, right, as a hobby, and then we had the plan of making a game down the line that might make money. So we just wanted to try and release a game and so on. So we didn't have ads on it for the first month or 2 months or something like that, because, well, it was never meant to do anything. And then when we got around, I think 10,000 downloads on it, we thought, well, might as well try to put an ad on it and see how it goes. And when you see you start to make money on it, well,
then
you
sell
really
your soul.
want to. Yeah, exactly. Then you can sell your soul. No, but you really want to spend more time on. Then you see like, okay, the thing that is my passion, that I use all my spare time on. Well, now there's a possibility that I can live off it if I'm being smart, right? So it's all about, well, being smart, right? So about well, you want to live off it, right? So we have a lot of discussion about, well, we might be able to make some more money with doing this, but is it worth it, right? We don't want to be like a soulless studio or anything like that, but we do want to live off it. So it's always like a balance.
Exactly.
So right now we don't have any pop-up ads and so on, because they can be annoying sometimes. So we started out just having ads that you choose yourself to watch.
Rewarded ad types.
Yeah, rewarded ads. Yeah, exactly, and it has worked great.
Yeah, a lot better than what we expected, because one of the things me and Oliver hit a lot about mobile games was that you download a game that looks pretty cool from an advertisement, and then the game is nothing like the ad, and you get like 5 ads in the first 1 minute of like playing the game. It's insane. Like, you get bombarded with ads all the time, and like there's these subscribe to the game and you have to pay $8 a day to get like gold. It's really weird. Like, it's so weird what is going on in the game industry, especially with mobile games, because again, a lot of kids are playing mobile games, so they are more inclined to, like, buy things with their parents' credit cards than, like, these big games. So we really wanted to make something that was different and away from this, like, I almost would call it predatory, like, advertising, where you
predatory advertising being just swamped, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. You put ads everywhere, and you try to almost like lure in kids, and like, all these different things. It's so easy on a mobile phone to make a purchase in the game, and almost always it's like almost hidden for like these the players. So we wanted to move away from that and make a game where people could watch an ad in our game and then get some money in the game, right? Right now you can't really buy anything in our game. That's gonna come up later in new games, of course. But like, I remember that we put in ads in like April. We released in March, and we put in ads in April or May. And we just thought, like, a lot of players sometimes had a hard time completing like a level. So you have like a level and you start up with some money, and every like 1 second you get some extra money, right? And you use this money to buy troops. And then people sometimes complained and said it's too hard, but other people were like, it's too easy. So we thought, like, if we made the game easier, then the people who liked the hard part of the game would be mad. So we just put in, like, you can watch a video, 30-second video, and then you can get this extra money to like try different strategies out if you want to, like, buy a lot of tanks in the level and stuff like that. And I remember we put it up, and then the first day we made like $5, and me and Oliver was like really crazed out. Like,
party time.
Exactly. We were like, why the fuck do we even go to university? Like, it's a waste of time. I already made $5,
How are we gonna spend this?
Yeah. It was like so surreal, because when we released the game, I remember I talked to Oliver and we were like, okay, 1,000 downloads, then we'll be happy. Like, that was insane, because we have released games before and they got like 5 downloads, So finally something was actually going well. So the whole game, nothing about the gameplay is built around monetization. Like most mobile games, they have like a complete team who like analyzes everything in the game. Okay, how can we increase monetization, and how can we make this play behavior different? All these different things they make, almost like, the psychologists like sit and calculate. Okay, exactly. If we make them watch an ad exactly at this time, then we will increase our revenue and stuff like that. So the whole game is more focused about how can we make money than is it fun. And I think that's the reason that our game has been doing so good. especially with the niche genre. First of all, because I think a lot of players are actually tired of like these games who are kind of mindless, and it's only about. It's obvious it's about more about making money than it's about making an actual game.
Right.
And then again, that you don't have to watch advertisement. You can choose it yourself, and the game is still playable 100% if you don't want to watch it. Like, it's an option. We give the player an option rather than forcing it, and I think that's a really good way to make money and to like make the players happy.
Do you think that's a strategy that most small studios should consider, or is that something that you think would be very much a game by game decision? When you're thinking about that, for example, for future games, how are we going to monetize this? How do we make sure that that it's still fun to play, but that we make money on it? I'm just curious what the thought process is strategically.
First of all,
okay. So I would say what we're still doing, and I think all people should be doing when they make game, is we make a game that is fun to play and not a monetization system and try to make it a game, right? So it needs to be a game first, right, and then look at places that make sense to monetize. But now with the things we have learned, we do think monetization being like a part of the game early in the process, right? But number one focus is of course still making a fun game. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. We don't mind in-app purchase. We're gonna have it ourselves in future games when it makes sense, But we think like when you make a game and you can't play the game past level 10 unless you spend money, that's bad game design, because you force the player to pay money. It should more be about, if I pay money, I can like get this extra thing that makes the game like a different style, or I can get this special pack like that, like a new campaign or stuff like that. If you want to like support the developer, it shouldn't be like I can't at all play the game because I have to pay money, and that's unplayable after level 10.
Yeah, I think it's almost a philosophy, a monetization philosophy that impacts the player directly. I think that's pretty cool. So what is next, if I may ask, for you guys? What game is coming up, or is it top secret and I can't ask about that?
No, not at all. It's fine. We can talk about it, no problem. We're making a new game that's so like the first game, like Trench Warfare 1917, was maybe like 20% of what we would like in a game, right? So we cut out 80% and was like, okay, we're gonna make it this game. We don't have to put all these extra features because it's just gonna be unrealistic and we're never gonna finish it. So the new game we're making, it's a lot like bigger and better, of course. But just like regarding the old game, when it was first released, 24 for 1917, right? You could play as a British, and there were 25 levels. Since then, we have added 6 new nations, so there's like, and also extra levels, so it's like almost 200 levels now. And we have made this like creative where you can make your own levels, and we just like in a couple of days
Mario
gonna release.
Maker?
Yeah, like that, kind of like that. You can like choose your own terrain. You can place like where the trenches should be. You can place bunkers and environment stuff like trees and stuff like that. Flags and stuff like that, and make like your own level and choose how difficult the AI should be and how much money you want to start with and how big the map should be and stuff like that. How the weather should show. Like our new update we're releasing in a couple of days is going to include a brand new creative where you can like, it's a lot better than the old creative. So you can choose like weather types that people have asked about it, right? A lot of people in the reviews and people have emailed us and asked, could we please like be able to do this and this? And then we have added it. And also we have added something called survival. So like defend the wall, kind of, where you have to like, like you can buy troops between waves and buy bunkers and buy trenches and stuff like that. And then with the enemy attacks, and if the enemy crosses your line, you lose. And then if you kill all the soldiers, you can click on next wave, and it's the next, like it's gonna get harder and harder for each wave, right?
That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have a really big update coming up actually. Also because we're releasing the game now in China with Yoda One as our partner, of course. So yeah, just also because a lot of these things right now we are testing out different stuff for the second game, right? So we thought that survival would be a cool feature in the second game. So we were like, would our fans actually like a survival? Is it worth to spend time on a survival? So I made a little bit simpler survival for the first game, and now we can like test out, okay, do people actually play this? Do they like it and stuff like that? Get feedback, right?
That's like you build a thing into a thing that people are already doing to learn about the next thing, and then the next thing might have a little kernel of the thing that you might do next, and that way you're not taking a giant risk of spending 8 months to a year on something that could be an absolute flop, which is very cool. I like that methodology.
Also because, people have been asking about these stuff. Okay, I think that's one of the reasons that the game has also been doing so well is that we've been really focused on listening to like our fans. We've read a lot of the different reviews we get on Play Store, and we encourage people. We have like a Discord server where people can talk, and we also encourage fans to send emails to us talking about what countries they would like in the game and what features, of course. And then we'll look at the features and see, okay, which features are the most popular ones that people request? Can we actually make these features? Are they realistic? And if they are, we make them and implement them, because then they keep coming back. And this thing with updating one every month or every 2 months makes the players engage, and they want to keep going because there's this like community. They know in 1 month there'll be a new country with new soldiers, and I want to experience that. So I think that's a really important thing about making a game. Don't give up in the start, because in the start our game did really poorly. The first month I think got like 80 downloads, and half of that was from our friends and family.
Right.
So we just kept updating, and coming up with new features, and some along the way it just like got picked up, because I think Google's algorithm notices that it's important that you answer you answer the reviews, so Google knows that you actually are engaged in the game, and it isn't just like malware or bloatware, and that they notice that you keep updating the game, so you're actually engaged in the game, and it isn't like a dead app that hasn't been updated for 3 years. So even though it doesn't look so great for you at the beginning, try to like keep working on it for just a couple of months to see if it actually can turn around.
That's minimum viable product methodology. That's starting simple and then just iterating until it gets to a place that you're happy with. That's
exactly
an awesome way of doing things. You mentioned the partnership, so I want to just ask about that a little bit. I mean, especially for the monetization thing, so if someone is looking at their game monetization doing mostly ads, when would they want to think about using something like Maz? When would it make sense, do you think, based on your own experience?
When you implement like an ad network, we started out with Unity because it was the easiest thing to do, since it's like built into the engine. So it was just an easy way. There were a lot of documentation about it. It was simple to implement, and But I think like almost from the start, because you have all these, like you have Yoda One and all these companies, right, competing with each other. So Yoda One, the reason we chose Yoda One was that we think it's interesting that it's a China-based company. So China is such a big market, and it's pretty hard to get into China if you don't have any locals there, right? And also that we just thought the ACPM rates were a lot higher. I like the fact that I was like in the Skype group that I'm in right now, and I can always talk to the guys at Yoda One and ask for things, and they answer almost immediately. Where with our other app writers that we have used, you get an email 14 days after, and you feel more like a number. And here you have like dedicated people helping you with stuff. So it's more like an actual partnership rather than just you are a customer, right?
Right.
So I would say almost from the beginning, if your game is starting to get a lot of downloads, then look into Google around. I would recommend Yoda One, of course, but Google around and see, okay, would it make sense for me to actually pick an external app writer rather than just using like the inbuilt one? And yes, I think of course it would, because you get a lot of better, you get more money from them, you get better customer service and all this stuff.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to make more money?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, we wish we had switched before. I mean, we did lose
Yeah,
kind
a lot of money.
a
Yeah.
lot of money by being well a bit slow to switch to Yoda One or from Unity. Definitely. So,
I don't know if-
yeah, switch early.
I don't know if you're
Switch-
allowed to do that retroactively, to use the word lose in the past. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know the rules.
I'm not sure.
If that's the case, then I
I'm not
lost a lot of
dating
money as a
Sweden.
baby, right? That baby didn't know how to do anything. Useless. Well, I really appreciate you guys talking to me. I think that the map building thing is also really cool. It's awesome to hear about your experience. I'm just
Yeah.
one follow-up question out of pure curiosity. How customizable are those maps? Could I fill a map with mustard gas and then just say, well, let's see what happens? I mean, how could I have a Christmas truce soccer game? I'm just curious about the degree
yeah.
of customization.
It's pretty basic right now, so you can just like you can make your own map regarding that. You can place your own bunkers and you can place the trenches and stuff like that. But you can also place like mustard gas all over the place. But like this was the football thing. No, unfortunately not. But it would be
That's
a
a
really cool Easter
Little
egg.
nuanced, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You also asked about like the second game, and we never really talked about that. And Oliver talked about it like right before. So if you want to talk about like the second game, Oliver, just
Very
to get
curious
like,
to
an
hear
idea
about it. Yeah,
it.
please.
Sure. So well, the second game is really it's kind of like the Portal 1, Portal 2 kind of scenario where we made like the minimal viable product ish, and we learned a whole bunch of stuff about it, right? So we found out that well, if you have like the creative, where you can make your own maps, people love that. I think that's the sole reason we got like real fans of the game. Is people just love being able to make their own maps.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the same game, but it's more the game we really always wanted to make, where the Trench Warfare 1917 is the game we were able to make at the time, and now we have learned a lot, and we are making the game we always wanted to make, at least close to.
Yeah, just with like talk about the animation thing, like the difference between now and like the old game. That's insane.
Yeah. So first of all, this time I had a lot of more, because the first game, Mass made the first artwork, so we were kind of locked into the art style, and it was fine because we were able to make the game really quickly. But now I was in charge of the whole art process.
No more
from the
turquoise
start.
people.
Yes, exactly. So the art is I would say at least 5% better or something. If 5 times better or something like that, because we put a lot of work into it, because we wanted to feel a bit like a simulator game as well. Like you could just look at it and it looked cool. Because the first game, I mean, it still looks kind of cool, but it's yeah.
Also look kind of shit, yeah.
Well, I like the aesthetic of the first game. I'm into that. Sword and Sorcery was the game that made me interested in 8-bit originally, and after I got into that, all those kinds of games, there's something magical about the 8-bit aesthetic, and
yeah, for sure.
I like it.
Yeah. And the new game is still it's still 8-bit, but we just the 1917 one is the first time we ever touched any programs to do pixel art in. So we learned a lot making the game, so we're just a lot better at doing pixel art, 8-bit art now.
Yeah, just like the whole thing about the game. So this game has like actual shadows in the artwork, and like in the old game, a soldier could only shoot standing up. Now they can like shoot standing down, laying down, and being on their knees, and also standing up. And they're like, I think there are 6 different animations like when they get shot. So like we wanted the game to feel less like a game and more like, like of a simulation kind of thing with like an actual war. So it looks more like, a game made by an actual studio with money rather than like like two guys making it. And especially because the whole art style was all about my really poor color distinguishment, and around I'm really bad at drawing. So that's the reason that at some points the game can look a bit weird because I made a lot of the models. So yeah. So this game is like really different than the second one, just regarding everything. Like the whole UI will look more like polished, and also like the gameplay will be a bit different, but still really cool. Yeah.
And
so like simulation, that's like the whole thing about the second game.
Very cool. You were gonna say something, Oliver?
Well, I was just gonna say that the core gameplay is still generally the same, right? So,
right.
But we just put a lot of cool things on top of it, and also, well, in the new game you will be able to do more with strategy, because we're kind of locked in. You can only do so much in the game now with regards to doing different kind of strategies, but the next game the player can do way more and customize their own strategies way more, and I think that's going to be really, really cool, because that is what you want when playing a strategy game, is just come up with bonkers tactics and see if that works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll know if the game ever allows people to play football in no man's land where that idea came from, and I'll know that I've made a difference in the world. That'll be awesome. Do you guys have a potential release date, titles, or anything you want to promote or mention for people watching, other than, hey, check out the game? Is there anything else you wanna bring up or talk about for viewers?
A real release date? No, I don't think so. But we hope it's going to be finished like in the late summer, or like start summer. So like around June or July.
Cool.
So it's like a bit floaty right now, but hopefully, yeah.
Maybe I missed it. Do you have a title?
We don't know the title yet. It's a work in progress. But something with trench warfare, and then something else.
Okay.
On top of that. So keeping like the brand name, but something different, right?
Right. What were you gonna say, Oliver? Update something?
Oh yeah, there's a big update coming real soon for the Trench Warfare 1917. Actually, a bunch of big updates coming. We're trying to update it once a month.
So they're coming in interest, like Italy and the US will arrive, and we're also gonna make something with the Russian Civil War, something like that, and all those kind of different countries, maybe even more countries, and just like keep adding stuff. So while people are waiting for the second game, we want to keep the original players engaged. So like a new update coming out each month. That's the goal right now.
Very cool. Well, I really appreciate you guys taking the time to talk with me. I certainly learned a lot, and I hope people watching have some great insights as well. So thanks again, and if you haven't already, make sure to check out Trench Warfare 1917. It's a good year, good game. So make sure you do that, and look out for future releases from SimpleBit Studios. So thanks again, guys. I really appreciate it.